We on?
We are now.
Good to go.
Mhm.
All right.
11 o'clock.
11 p.m. Time to call the February 10th Raleigh County Planning Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. We'll start with public comments. First, I'm going to read the rules for the public comments. And the public comments like to do anything that's not on the agenda tonight. The following applies to all meetings of the Raleigh County Planning Board of Zoning Appeals. Public comments shall be limited to no more than 5 minutes for each speaker. The time limit does not include questions asked by board members. The chair reserves the right to extend speaker time should the situation warrant doing so. All comments should be directed at the board. All speakers must go up to the podium to make comments, stating their full name and address before beginning. Public comment shall be made only during the designated time on the agenda at any public meeting. Public comments that are out of order, public comments are out of order if made outside the designated time on the agenda of a public meeting and without the speaker having first been recognized by the chair. Remarks of individual speakers shall not be simply repetitive of identical comments made by prior speakers. Verbal or visual personal attacks on private citizens, staff, or board members shall not be allowed. Speakers who violate any one or more of these rules will be asked to end their comments. And speakers or non-speakers who attend the meeting whose conduct disrupts the orderly, dignified content of any public meeting at any time will be asked by the chair to leave such meeting. All right. Do we have any public comments? Move on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes from the January 13th meeting?
Nope, no. Chairman, I move we approve the minutes. Second.
All right. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Anybody have any questions on the report of the fees for the month of January?
Nope.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Move we accept the report of fees.
A motion and a second. Everybody that's in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. I have a motion to adjourn out of the joint meeting of the Raleigh County Planning Board of Zoning Appeals and reconvene the Raleigh County Board of Zoning Appeals.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. All right, first item on the Board of Zoning Appeals agenda is a public hearing to consider the request of Chris Reed, petitioner, and Reed Holdings LLC owner for a variance authorization to reduce the required side yard setback for accessory structures from 5 feet to 1.5 feet along the south line of Lot 1, Reed Lane, located in Sherman Township, Section 1, Township 8 South, Range 6 East. Bob, you're on.
Okay. Good evening, folks. As mentioned, Chris Reed has made an application with Raleigh County Planning and Development requesting a variance to reduce the side yard building setback requirement for accessory structures from 5 feet to 1.5 feet on the south lot line of Lot 1 Reed Lane addition in order to complete the construction and replacement of storage shed. The subject site is generally located directly east of the intersection of Baldwin Creek Road and Lakeshore Lane. The subject property was originally platted as lots 16 and 17 of Block F of White Canyon subdivision in April of 1964. Portion of the subject site included an unplatted tract that was part of a land swap with the U.S. Corps of Engineers in 1988. In December of 2024, the applicant replatted the aforementioned lots and tracked together into a single lot, along with a vacated portion of the road right-of-way of Baldwin Park Road, Lakeshore Lane intersection, as the first step in allowing the replacement of a partially constructed accessory structure located in front of the home. The planning development, the planning department has no record that the building permit was, or a building permit was issued for the original structure being replaced. Although the applicant used the same concrete pad as the original building that was discovered through the building permit process, that the structure and concrete pad encroached into the road right of way. Vacated enough right of way to abate the encroachment and bring the accessory structure into compliance with the front building setback. However, in order for the building permit to be issued to complete the construction of the accessory structure replacement, a variance for a 3.5 foot reduction in the setback is still needed for the accessory structure as it encroaches into the side yard setback. The proposed variance is strictly to reduce the side yard setback for accessory structures only. Excuse me. The subject property is currently zoned AG Agricultural District and has been zoned as such since 1958. There are no variances, special uses, or conditional uses associated with the site. Raleigh County Fire District Number 1 will continue to serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Randolph Fire Station located at 111 South Front Street in Randolph. The subject site is not located within 5 road miles of the fire station. Excuse me. The east third of the subject site is located within the 1% annual chance floodplain, and the western edge of which follows the Corps of Engineers 1140 elevation perpetual flowage easement line. And here is the variance site plan as required by the land development regulations. This site plan indicates the boundary of the lot outlined in red, along with the location of the shed in question and location of the house. As surveyed, the shed is at its closest point, 1.5 feet from the south property line. The regulations have 2 different side yard building setback requirements, one for the principal building and one for accessory structures. The one for accessory buildings is 5 feet. As noted, the building is new construction, replacing an old dilapidated structure of approximately the same size and location. Unfortunately, it was discovered midpoint of construction that the shed was located within that setback requirement. Site plan illustrates the existing setback line and the proposed setback line. This is looking directly east along the south property line. In the foreground, the applicant is in mid-construction of the replacement shed, utilizing the same concrete pad for the structure. Note, the fence line is the south property line, and that's right here. It's awfully close. Again, this is core property. There's no impact. So staff has reviewed the request with the conditions in section 3.13 variances of the land development regulations. Staff's findings are in the staff report for your review. With that, staff recommends that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the request for a variance to reduce the required side yard setback accessory structures 5 feet to 1.5 feet along the south lot line of Lot 1 Reed Lane Addition. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me.
Any questions, Bob?
No, I've been out and looked at the site. I had some questions for Gerber surveying, but I guess they're not. Nobody's here from them to that. No.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, no question.
Garber?
Yeah, Garber.
You're good.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the variance authorization to reduce the required side yard setback for the accessory structures along the south lot line of Lot 1 Reed Lane Addition from 5 feet to 1.5 feet.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Do I need to read the full motion again or? Next up on the zoning appeals board is an amendment to the bylaws. Talked about this at our last meeting about changing the meeting times from 7:30 to 7 p.m. Under page 3 of bylaws, Article 5, Section 1. We would need to amend that from 7:30 to 7 p.m.
Make a motion that we amend Article 5, Section 1, meeting time from 7:30 to.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. We have a motion to adjourn from the Riley County.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Item number 1 on the Riley County Planning Board. Take from the table a public hearing to consider the request of Bryant Foster, petitioner, and Brian and Christina Foster, Michael Goodpasture, Robert Allen and Jean Steiner, Larry and Andrea Feldkamp, Richard A. and Christy R. Van Horn Trust owners to amend the final development plan of Heritage Estates residential PUD and adjust the common property line lots between lots 1 and 2 of Heritage Estates via replat. All located in Manhattan Township, Section 22, Township 9, South, Range 7 East, in Raleigh County, Kansas. Yep.
You ready? Okay. Looks good. Good evening, everybody. Brian Foster has made an application with Riley County Planning and Development requesting to amend the final development plan of Heritage Estates RPUD and adjust the common property line between lots 1 and 2 of Heritage Estates via replat. The applicant is one of the 5 owners of the petition. In order to make more specifically, the final development plan of that PUD that governs the 5-lot subdivision. All property owners had to agree on the proposed changes to the final development plan. The owners, Brian Foster, Michael Goodpasture, Robert Allen and Jean Steiner, Larry and Andrea Feldkamp, and Robert and Christy Van Horn Trust. So this is a 2-part thing going on. Portion of the subdivision is being replatted. Only 2 of the 5 lots. But because of that change, the final development plan, which applies to all 5 lots, has to be amended. So you can kind of see that where we're going, and I'll get more specific on those changes. The subject site is generally located approximately 4,275 feet west of the intersection Seth Child Road and Tullow Creek Boulevard. In May 2013, the subject site was platted as a 5-lot residential subdivision known as Heritage Estates RPUD, which stands for Residential Plan Unit Development, and rezoned from AG Agricultural District to Residential Plan Unit Development. As mentioned previously, the owners of all 5 lots are proposing to amend certain elements of the existing final development plan associated with the plan unit development, changes that will apply to all 5 lots. Owners of lots 1 and 2 are proposing to realign the common property boundary between their lots by replatting lots 1 and 2. The utility easement along said line will also be relocated to the new property line. The current zoning of the subject property, as mentioned, is PUD plan unit development built with various residential zoning to the north and east, university zoning district to the south in purple, and agricultural zoning to the west. There are no variances, conditional uses, or special uses associated with the site. Raleigh County Fire District Number 1 will continue to serve the site. The nearest county fire station is the Temple Creek Fire Station located at 4120 Highway 13. Okay, so this is the original final plat of Heritage Estates, RPUD, completed in 2013. This replat consists of lots 1 and 2 of that subdivision. The red line indicates the current common boundary between the two lots. The two individual lot owners wish to adjust that common property line between the two lots, following the topography of the south half of lot 1, which is this one, 30-acre lot. By replatting, both the common property line and utility easement that runs along it are vacated and reestablished in this manner. The existing drainage easement, stormwater detention area would now be entirely located on lot 2. The amended final development plan reflects this change. No additional lots are being created by this action. The replat does not change how each lot accesses a public road either. No additional lots are being created by this action as mentioned, and the amended final development plan reflects the boundary line adjustment. This is a view of the amended final development plan. Although certain amendments to the final development plan are being proposed, property is not being rezoned, nor is there a requirement for it to be rezoned. I want to make that clear. Except for lot 1, all lots are developed with a single family dwelling and various accessory structures. Staff advised that due to replatting lots 1 and 2, the final development plan would need to be amended to at least reflect the change to the minimum lot size of each of these lots. However, the applicant stated that he had discussions with all the property owners of the subdivision and proposed even more changes to the overall final development plan. The Raleigh County Land Development Regulations require that such changes be demonstrated, which I'll get to in a moment. So with a plan unit development, understand that a plan unit development is a tailor-made zoning district. And it's actually created by staff and the petitioner and the planning board and the input from the planning board and the Board of County Commissioners. And it has a list of permitted uses, a list of permitted structures, a list of use limitations, a schedule of improvements, and so on. Notes, general notes that specify actually what's going on with the development. You want to get specific, and sometimes it's used to control the type of development or to be more flexible and allow different uses and structures that are in other zoning districts to be combined into one. And so that's what's happening here. So the list of permitted uses, again, I wanted to show the original, but show the change as they occur from the original PUD to the proposed PUD. So the very first one single family custom site build residence per lot, same language. The language that was struck out is the existing home on lot 5 shall be allowed in its current state. And that's because in 2013, when this was proposed, there was already a house on that lot. So that it's one of those things that no longer applies. Pre-engineered metal accessory buildings, not for human habitation. By the way, you see it in italics, that's new wording. Used to store and protect equipment, animals, feedstuffs, boats, RVs, or used as a shop for personal hobbies. Home occupations, this is what you see struck out is the old reference to the previous zoning regulations. We wanted to update that reference to the current land development regulations. Number 4, signage. There is one sign, an entrance sign. It's a monument sign. It's also shown on the final development plan in your packet. And this gets into what it will be like. Well, it's already built, so we want to make it clear that it is like this. And if it ever needed to be replaced, is on that final development plan, and that's what it would have to be replaced as. So it's still governs. One secondary dwelling residence, this is new. One secondary dwelling residence per lot as permitted by section 5.2 use specific standards of the Riley County Land Development Regulations with the following exceptions. Secondary dwelling shall be a custom site-built residence. Okay, so what we're dealing with here is the secondary dwelling for the lots is actually a conditional use in the agricultural district and any other district. It really doesn't, the regulations don't really go into specifics as for PUD, so it has to be written here. So instead of having them come in and try to update the PUD on a lot per lot basis, if they want to go this route, they want to do it up front to simply say, we want to be able to do it, but it still will have to be done by the conditions in the regulations. They have to meet those minimum requirements. And they went one step further and said the secondary dwelling shall also be a custom site-built residence. One other thing on the notes, which we'll get to regarding the driveway, if there is a separate driveway going to, let's say, their secondary dwelling, or you're going to split off of their primary driveway, the driveway has to meet the driveway standards. Now, in the driveway standards, it's defined, your driveway standard or driveway is defined as a roadway going from the road right of way to the principal structure. This is an accessory structure. See, that definition doesn't, rhyme. So that reference just can't be simply put that way. So we're going to say that it has to meet the certain standards, performance standards of that document. Okay. So number 6, there's something else that is fairly new. And I can tell you what's actually happening here. This is a reference to the current language in the land development regulations regarding residential livestock. And it still rhymes with what was originally proposed on that PUD, with the exception of the stock animals. Before, the only stock animals that were allowed were horses, and with a maximum of 3 per lot, regardless of the lot size. They wanted to allow or cows for 4-H projects, that kind of thing, and just allow it. Not saying that people want to go out there and have a herd of cows or anything, but and they want to limit it to, as you see here, donkeys, goats, and pigs shall not be permitted. And you can have chickens, of course, through the residential livestock, but no roosters. So they're still maintaining quite a bit of control here, that they're just giving a little bit more flexibility as far as the 4-H side of things. And going with that, they want to discuss where the animal pens and enclosures, manure piles, that kind of thing, shall be kept. And it shall be kept no closer than 100 animal pens or enclosures, excluding pasture, manure piles, compost piles, etc., be kept no closer than 200 feet from a residence on an adjacent property. That's actually more strict on I think it's lot 4, but with the original had a setback of 50 feet. Of course, they're increasing that to 100 feet from the property line. So getting into the general notes, now that we've listed the permitted uses, I'm actually starting on number 4 on that list, because the rest are just certain survey and data points and stuff like that. I want to make it clear that what's happening here, again, here is a reference. So I want to make it clear that the reference is correct as far as the entrance pipe. I believe all the lots, with the exception of lot 1, developed. And so This may apply one last time, pretty much. Drainage shall be primarily directed to the ditch running along the front of the property. Primarily the detention pond, which was designed as part of the original PUD development. And from that point to the drainage ditch is south right of way of Tuttle Creek Water. All drives and parking areas shall consist of all weather surfacing, including crushed stone or gravel. Any additional driveway to a secondary dwelling unit must be in conformance with the driveway standards in the unincorporated area of Raleigh County, Kansas. That's the document. By the way, that's a standalone document. It's also available on our website. It's underneath the land development regulations. But that's that reference I spoke of earlier. Right, a site and all uses therein shall be in compliance with the Raleigh County Sanitary Code. Again, there's some things that are already put in place. We can scratch out. Lots within the subdivision shall be served by individual septic tanks, lateral fields, or wastewater stabilization ponds as deemed necessary by the Raleigh County Environmental Health and shall be served by Raleigh County Rural Water District Number 1 for all potable water supply needs. Again, outdated language, we're just modernizing it. Location extent of fencing, trails, services, agricultural drives shown here on should be modified at the owner's discretion as required to serve the permitted uses. All proposed lighting shall have directional control or appropriate cutoffs to minimize spillage and light trespass. Existing areas with native tree stands as shown here, quite a bit of those, shall remain intact as much as possible to retain the existing beauty and character of the property and to act also as an audio and visual buffer to surrounding properties. Within these areas, trees may only be selectively removed for certain reasons, such as creating space for vehicle driveways, hiking, biking trails, or improved wastewater systems. We have some of those. Trees may also be removed to make space for residences, yards, and other additional permitted structures. And of course, removal of fallen or dead trees. The replacement of such planting additional trees or shrubs must comply with Article 6 Development Standards of Raleigh County Land Development Regulations. And more specific as far as replacement of trees in certain areas. No common areas are proposed, and certain notes were moved to a different list of which wasn't on the original. It was just a large list of notes. This, I wanted to differentiate between general notes and use limitations. And so this one was moved to use limitations. This one, licensed to register daycare, that kind of thing, moved. This one was just simply removed. That's the one I was telling you about as far as the requirement to on lot 4, the east line of lot 4, that 50-foot setback. Now is being increased to 100 and 200 in other cases. Church, synagogues, temples, and such moved to the use limitations. Stock animals. This is moved to permitted structures and uses. And I just went over that. Equine fitting. Again, it's a use limitation. Move that to that list. Fitting, riding, or roping activities. Same. Nurseries or gardens intended to yield fruits, vegetables, that kind of thing, or to be processed into beverages or food products for sale. Again, move to use limitations. And you can see these are the same. They just move to use limitations. Number 22, the agricultural protection easement document was filed with the original plat. So that was completed. And again, this was also the agricultural buffer that was moved to use limitations. Property is governed by restricted covenants. That's just a general note, just kind of an FYI. And it looks, I believe, that there's talk about, I believe, updating those as well. Property owners are not permitted to plant trees or shrubs within the 20-foot utility easement on the south border. That's moved to use limitations. And 26 was removed completely. I didn't think that was gonna be, I think that would be too difficult to enforce as a zoning element. Number 27, post-development stormwater runoff rates shall be mitigated by the current detention pond on lot 2. And shall be equal or less than pre-development runoff rates at the time of the Heritage Estates RPUD final plat dated April 30th, 2013. And the majority of this 80-acre tract is developed already, with the exception of lot 1. No building permits shall be issued until the detention pond and proposed Marjorie Court have been constructed. Those have been constructed and they are completed. So that note needs to be removed. So here's our list of the use limitations. No manufactured or mobile homes allowed. That's original language. Licensed or registered daycare services not allowed. Churches, synagogues, temples, chapels not allowed. Density setbacks, minimum lot density, and setback requirements shall be as provided in the land development regulations. That's an update of the reference. Equine fitting, riding training lessons or demonstrations are not allowed. Fitting, riding, or roping activities involving cattle are not allowed. Nurseries or gardens intended, again, not allowed. Public parks, playgrounds, and such, swimming pools, recreational buildings are not allowed. And the agricultural buffer as shown shall be subject to the minimum requirements of section 6.4 of the Raleigh County Land Development Regulations. Just updated that reference there. The agricultural buffer is 100 feet from the south property line between K-State's property and the PUD. And I believe the one off to the east or the west, it's also 100 feet, and the one off to the east is 50, I believe. I have to check that map. And so those haven't changed, by the way. That's not being changed. Planting trees or shrubs within that 20-foot utility easement along the south border of lots 2, 3, and 4 shall be prohibited. And so that's the list of use limitations. It's moved to a more specific list that talks about limiting a particular use. So it's clearer. This is the schedule of improvements. Construction of the detention pond and Marjorie Court, those have been completed. Construction of entrance drive for lot 1. The entrance is completed. There's not a driveway there yet on lot 1. That's the farthest west. Connection of rural water and providing service to lot 1, 2030, and individual lot development. That's a continuation, especially if they're considering a secondary dwelling. So the development is ongoing on these lots, but for the most part, they're developed out, as you can see here. Now, again, this is the original, and you can see that the yellow is indicating the entire PUD, all 5 lots. And here's lot 1 and lot 2. As mentioned, this is the current lot line, and that will change over here. So this detention pond here will be all in on lot 2. So hopefully that makes some sort of sense. Staff recommends the planning board forward a recommendation of approval of the proposed amendments to the final development plan associated with the PUD zoning designation of the subject property as it remains in general conformance with the preliminary development plan. That recommendation is to the board and county commission. Staff also recommends that the planning board approve the final plat of Heritage Estates Unit 2. Again, that's that replat of lots 1 and 2. As it has been determined that it meets the minimum requirements of the Raleigh County Land Development Regulations and the Raleigh County Sanitary Code. Are there any questions? That's all I have.
Are you sure?
That's a lot.
Can you start over at the beginning?
Yes.
Lot 1, you said it does have an entrance. Would it be that next west entrance then would be where their driveway or entrance will be?
Let me show you something. It might be easier to get some of the glare off. All the lots over on this side, and that's 2, 3, 4, and 5, all have a direct access to Marjorie Court. And that's one of the things that was a requirement, that each lot had to have direct access to a public road. That's a planning requirement. This is the actual entrance that is a split entrance onto the right of way here on Tuttle Creek Boulevard. Is split between this property off to the west and lot 1. With the replat, that this boundary line here moves it over to here along this ravine here. And again, moves this detention pond all onto lot 2, reduces the size of this 30-acre tract about 13 acres. So, and again, the entrance in here, although the entrance is available. Now, getting from this point to a buildable spot is a little tricky. While the tree removal, they can be done.
There's already an entrance up the highway there.
Yeah.
So I know that the state will try to limit how many entrances they can have off there and the people on the show.
Yeah, again, this was approved back in 2013. These 2 points are the only points. They're not changing. They're not adding any other entrances of ingress, egress. So they maintained through this. They tried to, although it sounds complicated, really, they had to adjust the PUD because of this lot line maneuver adjustment. Since it's a PUD, since there is a utility easement that runs along it, a simple boundary line adjustment anywhere else other than a PUD without a utility easement could have been done. But we had to do a replat. But because they're changing the lot size, minimum lot size table on that PUD, that's enough to trigger this action, rather than simply just providing us something that's updated in the office administratively approving it. So it goes before you. While they were at it, they decided to clean up the PUD a little bit, update it, and add a couple more things. And a couple more things are stock animals. Still have a maximum of 3 stock animals, but allowing cows. But the limitation on donkeys and llamas and other things, pigs, stuff like that. So it really focuses in on horses and cows. That's it. So that little bit of flexibility. The other one is the addition of the allowance of a secondary dwelling per law.
Will those secondary dwellings be addressed independently from the?
Yes. I talked to Sherry Taylor about that, and we have a couple instances where it's both, and where it's not addressed, and we have one that is addressed. And she said the correct way is to address it. So if this, for example, the house was like 4121, this would be 4121B, something like it. And it still would have to meet the minimum standards, use specific standards of a secondary dwelling, maximum size of 2,000 square feet and so on. And it has to meet the sanitary code. So it's not terribly easy, but it can be done. But it allows the PUD to be on equal terms of other tracts of land, other zoning districts that have the opportunity to get a secondary dwelling through conditional use.
Anything else for Bob? All right. Does the petitioner want to get into anything? You don't have to, but you can. Unless there's any questions. Suppose I ought to ask if there's any proponents within 1,000 feet? Any opponents within 1,000 feet? All right, we'll close the public session and go into our deliberation. Anybody have any thoughts on anything? Eric?
Seems pretty straightforward. I mean, it's convoluted, but
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. as far as-
It's complicated, but it's not.
Well, it's complicated only because of the changes they
Yeah.
would make, and it doesn't really impact anything else
No.
other than the PUD it's associated with.
Justin? Anything?
No.
Bill?
No.
All right, it looks like we have two actions needed, one for the development plan and one for the replat.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward a recommendation for approval to the Board of Commissioners of Riley County of the request to amend the final development plan associated with PUD, Plan Development Unit, zoning designation of the subject property as it remains in general conformance with the preliminary development plan.
Second.
All right, a motion in a second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
All in favor, say aye.
I,
Motion carries 4-0.
Yeah.
All right. I need to look at the replat.
I move, we approve. We approve the final plat of the Heritage Estates Unit 2, a replat of lots 1 and 2 of the Heritage Estates that has been determined that it meets the requirements of Riley County Land Development Regulation and the Riley County Sanitary Code.
Oh, sorry.
Got a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, I do have an announcement. Since it's going to the Board of County Commission, we can make that announcement at the planning board with the date and time of this item. So, this item will go before the Board of County Commissioners, February 20th at 10:30 a.m. At that time, they're going to be reviewing, the amendments and making a decision on the amendments. There will also review the final, but their approved final plat, making an acknowledgement that it's been approved and released the subdivision regulations. And it's like any rights of way or licenses or easements that are shown to be dedicated on the plat. That's what they do. They'll sign it. Formality, they have to in order for it to be recorded with register of deeds. That's what's going to happen.
Well. All right. We got a couple of business stuff to do, so if you guys want to hang in, free to go.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Item number 2 is discuss and select an additional board member for the agricultural extension process.
You get me.
There you go.
Okay, so since Rita's not here, I'd really like to have this conversation with the full board. So unless you folks are just dying to talk about ag exemptions, we'll push it to next meeting where hopefully y'all will be here. So is that okay? Give you a little bit of information in your packet. Of course, anybody's always welcome to ask us any questions or come chat with us. You don't have to wait until next meeting, but just want to have that conversation with the full board. So unless anybody has any questions now. We'll just put that right on to our next month's agenda.
you want a motion to table it to the next meeting?
Well, just a discussion.
Yes,
not
just
an action
discussion.
item, so-
Yes, I don't think we really need to I mean, you're welcome to.
No.
Formally do
Just
it.
want to make sure we don't violate Robert's Rules of Order.
It's always a discussion and not an action item.
Right.
All right. Now you're up for comprehensive plan update.
Yes, that one I can do. So we are back at our comprehensive plan update, and I'm really happy to be able to say that and give you folks an update. If you remember about last, and of course, I know we have a few new folks here, so maybe I'll go into a little bit more depth. So our comprehensive plan, Vision 2025, I think we've talked to everybody a little bit about that when we had the presentation. That plan was adopted in October 2009. That is a million years in planning. So there's a lot of things that have happened, not just in Riley County, but in planning in general and land use and all of that we need to update our plan, incorporate, and then also just update the existing elements of the plan. We got demographics, we got population changes, we have just changes in general in the county. We want to make sure, the goals and policies and vision of the plan still applies. And whatever maybe doesn't, because we have had population changes and a lot of different issues come up over the years, make sure our plan is properly reflecting that. So this new plan will have a 15-year horizon through 2040. So that's what we are working on. We should have it done by the end of, by fall of this year. I'm going to knock on wood a little bit. We started this a couple years ago. We were trying to do it in-house, just to keep things going and whatnot. We have a comprehensive plan committee. We have about 50+ members on that committee. people from all different entities, individuals, farmers, ranchers, developers. We also have, people from local and regional agencies, lots of different folks from county staff. We have a wide variety of people on that committee that have been helping us review and make comment about how it needs to be updated based on current sentiment. So again, we've been working on that for a long time. We did a lot of community engagement, public outreach. We had a bunch of community workshops that we did. That was at the end, the fall of 2023. We had 11 workshops where we went out to the best we could, every corner of the county to come to the people rather than always expect them to come to us. We got pretty good attendance overall at those meetings, lots of great input from folks. We did a public survey where we got over 600 responses. It doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it's a lot. For community input, it's tough to get people to fill out surveys to come to meetings. So we actually did pretty good. And we were just working on things again in-house with our committees and doing what we can. And really, we just kind of realized, unfortunately, once we really we're getting to the meat of the document, and really having the draft stuff, really getting into the nitty-gritty and doing the technical stuff, it just wasn't gonna be possible to do that just us. We talked to the commissioners about having a consultant before, and we needed them to bump up the financial allocation to that. And so once we were able to, talk with them again about, we really want this to be a good quality plan for Riley County. We have a million other things we're trying to do, but we really want this plan, the best we can. And so they did agree to allocate that additional funding to a consultant. We got an RFP issued, a request for proposals issued. This was last spring. We interviewed a couple of different firms, and we did select Stantec Consulting as our consultant. It unfortunately took a lot longer than we had hoped to get their contract settled. So we wound up having about a 6-7 month hiatus. So we were doing a little bit in the background, but for the most part, things just we just took an unexpected break, while we kind of got things going. And then again, the contract was approved in December by the commissioners, and we have just kind of hit the ground running again. So, because we really do want to get the plan adopted by fall of this year. So we've had a few meetings with our consultant. We'll meet with them monthly. Really, we're probably going to be a lot more than that. That's definitely what's on the calendar and lots of correspondence. They're doing a lot of background work right now. They're really learning about Riley County. They're learning about all the different plans we have and other entities have in the region that will impact. They're reviewing all of the survey data that we collected, community input that we've received, and they're doing an existing conditions study right now that'll be ready in April. And what that is exactly what the title suggests. What's going on right now? It's a snapshot of what Riley County looks like today. What's our population, what's our demographics, what's our land uses, our capacities, all of that sort of stuff. Because in order to know where we want to go, we need to know where we are. So that's what they're working on right now. We'll start more public workshops in April. We'll have a variety of different workshops where we're bringing in the public again. Let's see, we met with our comprehensive plan committee. Today's Monday. Last Wednesday, we got that group reconvened, and I'm happy to say I lost a few people, which is completely expected, but a lot of people were still there, still excited to keep going. So I was really happy for that. Our Stantec folks, they just gave a presentation again, kind of explaining, some of the background, kind of what their process is, where we are and where we're going to go, and kind of what their roles will be, staff's roles, consultant roles, the committee's roles, and the public, and all of that. So they gave a really good, kind of a good snapshot of what's going on. Good meeting, heard some good feedback from folks, and again, we're just really happy to get this process going again. So I'll be giving you all an update for every meeting, which is we meet monthly, just to keep you all updated. You will, in springish or so, they'll start to have some draft language for us to look at. You folks will be a part of that, of course, because anytime we do any long range planning or text amendments or anything like that, you folks are a part of that process. So you will see all of that. You will have the opportunity to make comment and, have that incorporated in there, so. If you have any questions or thoughts at any time, you're certainly welcome to look at Vision 2025. I know you have all read it cover to cover already. But if you have any comments at any time, even before you see the new draft language of our new plan, please just let me know. This process really, I'm a little bit of a broken record with this, but this process is a public process. It's not just the county up here saying, here's what we're gonna do, and you just have to, go along with it. This is a community's plan, so we want to make sure that the public is heard in this and that that's all incorporated in there and they know that that's there, so. So, is there any questions or comments?
Okay, the 50,000-foot questions. Where's Centec? Where are they?
Actually, an international company, so they have a lot of offices around the US and around the world, but our main gentleman actually is coming from St. Louis. But then we also have a few folks who are out of Kansas City and then a few folks who are a little further afield. They have done a few plans for Manhattan and they've done a few things for Riley County as well. So even though they're not necessarily local, they do have familiarity with our region.
Objectivity. The other question is, might sound like a stupid one, but can we get, or has anyone seen a copy of, if they have one, a Potawatomi County long-range plan?
So Pot County has a comprehensive plan. It is on their website.
Okay.
Yep. And I can send you a link to it if you'd like.
Please, yeah.
Absolutely. Do you mind making a note of that?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did their plan a few years ago. I would
Yes,
say.
early.
So,
So Amanda, what are we using for forecasting growth or changes in our environment?
So that's a number that Stantec is working on right now. That has to be kind of determined. There's a few different resources that generally folks use to get those population forecasts. I know the gentleman from the MPO, the MPO Metropolitan Planning Organization, they do a lot of the transportation and stuff in the region. He was saying what he was hearing from Winston Pools, I want to say, was actually pretty high growth. So we're looking at things. So Stantec's gonna take a look and determine, okay, what really is our population target? What are we looking at? Because that's part of comprehensive planning, and they want to anticipate.
Part of it is the amount of growth, but part of it is what segments are growing and
Yep.
what things have to happen for those segments. So I
Exactly.
was just curious about what they're using for forecasting then.
Yeah, we don't have the number yet, so that's part of what they're working on now. So, because
I'll be interested in seeing what they used.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can let y'all know, and it's all public, public
Mhm,
information when we
yeah.
have it. So yeah, we'll definitely communicate that information because you're right. It's okay, how many more people are we expecting? Where are we going to put them? I.e. housing. Where are we going to employ them? I.e. jobs. So yeah, it's all that different sort of stuff. So yeah, it's an important number that we'll be getting.
I mean, how many of them are going to be over 60?
Yeah.
All those good things and under 20.
Over 60, they special needs.
Both
We have,
the under 20s and over 60s.
we have special needs.
Larger senior citizen discounts.
Do you know who did the Pot County study?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it honestly, so I don't know off my head into that.
Does our study incorporate the airport?
So the airport's actually in city limits, but. And so our jurisdiction, of course, as you folks know, is unincorporated Riley County, so it's outside of all city limits, but the reality is what happens in Manhattan impacts what happens in Riley County and vice versa. So there'll likely be mention of the airport in our plan, but there's not gonna be a whole lot that we're gonna do because we don't, of course, plan for the airport, if that makes sense.
Well, it's not an international airport, but.
That's
in the
true.
last-
Yeah.
Yeah, they're breaking records, so it might be
Right.
soon.
Well, in within the last 3 months, I've seen 2 international flights, one from China, landing at the airport. So that is on the plan. It's got to be, otherwise international carriers wouldn't be landing at the airport.
Or even Manhattan, New York.
Yeah.
Where's the buildings?
And then I thought it would.
I don't see the World Trade Center.
No, all great questions. There's no question. Any other thoughts or questions or?
They have to fly over through Riley County to get to the airport. Our airspace.
That's good point.
All right, I guess, everybody have anything else for Amanda?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
All right, we got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say
Aye.
aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Folks, before you take off, obviously there's refreshments. Don't leave without a couple of cookies. We have a Mylar out here for you to sign.
I want to go look in that variance book. I do apologize. I forgot to have the variance here for you guys to sign tonight. I will be emailing you, asking